XFL Fancast. Woo! Yeah. XFL Fancast, y'all. Oh, you know I ain't gonna make you wait. XFL Fancast. Let's get on with the show. XFL Fancast. Now.
And we're back in the saddle. Back in the saddle again with my friends. Hey everybody, this is Seven Morgan, and you're back at the XFL Fancast. I got a little bit of gravel in the voice because I was a little sick recently. The sickness does not describe why I haven't made a new episode in a few weeks. Been a little bit more than a few weeks. Been quiet on the XFL world. Not a ton to report. There was the big AAFL controversy that happened. A few other things happened, but not a ton to report. And I was looking at our old download numbers, and I realized that perhaps it makes sense just to make an episode once every couple of weeks, once a month, or when times dictate something interesting is happening. If anyone wants to hear more episodes, or if you liked some of the episodes I did before, hit me up. There's the information of how to hit me up at the end of the show, and I'll take it in any direction. But for now, this is just my hobby, and I just wasn't doing it. But now I felt like doing it because there were some things that happened directly related to the XFL that caught my eye. I read this article in Deadspin. That's the main thing I want to talk about today. It's a Deadspin article. Let's see, when is this? This is posted 5/11, so that's a couple weeks ago. But the XFL. We'll see what's happened. There was a rival football league that was talked about starting a year ahead of the XFL. I covered this in a conspiracy episode. I had some thoughts on that. That may or may not be true, but it's fun to speculate. And if you can't have fun to speculate on podcasts, well, what the heck is a podcast worth? So what I did want to talk about was this article talked about the XFL actually talked about some of the ideas they had, for the rules. I had already some episodes about potential rules, and apparently they've talked about some of the rules and some of the ideas that they have out there. So I'm down. I like some of these rules that I read. Wanted to hip you readers to or listeners. You're not my readers, you're my listeners. Hip you to some of what's happening with some of these ideas. We can get into some of my more esoteric and strange episodes another time. I've decided to end the cold opens. They were fun for me, but I don't know if they were if the target demo was feeling it, you know what I mean? But, they're up if you want to check out my old cold opens, kind of like short stories that I did. You can listen to earlier episodes or just listen to the first minute or two of those old episodes. But right now we're just jumping into some content. So like I said, there's these ideas on Deadspin that I guess come out of an article from the XFL's parent company, Alpha Entertainment, and in some comments made to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. And the editor, Dave Meltzer, he summarized of some of the ideas that he's privy to that the XFL is considering. I guess the main thing is XFL will still go. Right, that's the main thing. Even though there's competition, the NFL just this last week kind of cleaned up issues they had around the national anthem. I do think the national anthem and the controversy was some of the impetus and some of the energy behind the XFL. So actually, I think the threat, the NFL is taking seriously the threat from the XFL and the other AAFL football league as real, and that's why they implemented those changes. So they're taking the XFL seriously, and of course we do too. But some of these ideas were a few of these. Let me summarize them, and then we'll talk about them in a little more depth. So the idea was a 20-second play clock, speed up the game. So instead of, I think the NFL's got a 35-second play clock, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. So they're talking about a 20-second play clock. So that's pretty fun. That's gonna remind you of kind of how the old New England Patriots play, just real fast, or at least they were playing that really fast way for a couple years ago. I remember it was like crazy. They were, they were trying to snap plays before the defense was set, and people get tired, and it was pretty frantic. And I'm a Bronco fan, as I've talked about before, and there was a few games where Josh McDaniels and the offensive coordinator of the Patriots would just totally have the Broncos defense befuddled by just going so fast. And I can tell you it's fun to watch. It was fun to watch those like really fast, kind of hectic games. And if you think about the 2-minute warning when all teams go fast, it is kind of more fun to watch. And apparently the XFL wants to call this Warp Speed Football Reinvented. That's their tagline. That kind of summarizes it. I'm in favor. I think it's a good idea. I don't think this is an idea I'd covered in some of my ideas, because my ideas were a little more, outside the box. And then here's an interesting idea, some I didn't even consider at all. But they're talking about no more face masks on the helmets. I guess the idea behind this is twofold. One, it's like they think it'll be safer because people will do less crazy hits if it's not a face mask. And two, you'll be able to actually see the players. Like, you'll be able to connect more with them because you can see their face. It's a way to like build the audience connection with the players and have less crazy injuries. More on that in a second. Let's see. And then I guess they're saying that these helmets with no face mask will actually be safer. Don't know how that's going to work, but that's what they're saying. And then they're saying no extra point kicks, only 2-point conversion plays. I had some thoughts on 2-point conversion plays in my other rules podcast. You should check that out. Let's see. And this is cool. Cash prizes for fans who accurately call the same plays as the players in an XFL app during games. All right, cool. That's fun. It's like audience participation. You can, if you're good, you can like kind of win some sort of prize or prestige for guessing right while you're watching the game in the app. That's a good idea. And you could probably expand that to, guessing, if it's heads or tails, and kind of like take gambling but put it in the app, and, instead of money, perhaps it's just, some sort of prize point system. Heck, maybe they can throw in like a freaking cryptocurrency that you win, like an XFL cryptocurrency. I mean, let's make this thing ultra modern. Why not? Let's see. Team fan clubs can get a special section at a home stadium, can vote on jersey designs and team awards, and have access to pre- and post-game meet-up and greet events. Cool. So that's just a deeper connection with the local fans. That's not revolutionary, but, I guess that's cool. And more official team and league-sponsored events and vendor booth trucks during tailgate parties. So just kind of making the in-stadium experience even deeper. I think that's totally fun, totally cool. I support it. So there's definitely more. So these are like I guess some concrete ideas that they've kind of settled on, or at least I don't know if they're settled on, but it's some of the things that they think is going to differentiate their game from the NFL. And I agree. I mean the biggest thing here is the no face masks on the helmets. No face masks on the helmets. Oh my gosh, it's like they should just make them leather helmets. Well, I'll tell you what. When I was growing up in Denver, there was these old time radio announcers named Irv and Joe, and these guys were already like in their late 70s or 80s when I was listening to them 20 years ago. So these guys might not be alive anymore, or if they are, they're pretty old. But they were old school. They had grown up watching football since maybe the 50s or maybe even before. And they talk, and this guy, Irv Brown, he had talked about, he had watched football back in the day when they just had leather helmets. And he always would talk about on his radio show how it was safer back then. Less injuries because people tackled more safely. And, like not having the face mask made a difference. This is totally interesting. I think it's I'm willing to watch it. I mean, you can be skeptical. Like, is that really going to be injury, or are we just going to watch like a bunch of people with like busted noses and like blood all over their face? But according to this guy, Irv Brown, I used to listen to in Denver, kind of a famous local talk show host. He just talked about this all the time. He said the NFL should go to that. He was even talking about leather helmets. He was just saying like it was a safer game. I'm all for experimentation. I mean, let's try it. I mean, you can be completely skeptical, but maybe that's completely true. Maybe that's true. I think it's totally fun. Like, there's like a freaking car wreck and curiosity factor. So you're watching this really hectic and fast football game, but you're also watching it where there's no face masks. I like this idea. I think it's a great idea. I hope they have the cojones to actually do it. I'm still holding out hope for the XFL for all the reasons that I've talked about. Competition, innovation, some cities that don't have NFL teams or football can get it. It's going to be a slightly different product, probably at a different time of year. I still think the XFL is an awesome idea. And I hope, the fact that they're willing to consider no face masks makes me think my crazy ideas that I talked about before in previous podcasts, they might actually do it, because this is actually a pretty bold idea. No face masks. No face masks. Man, can you imagine, like, just like we'll be like hockey players, just like no toofs, no teeths. These guys banging into each other. I mean, how is that going to change tackling? What kind of tackles are you going to do when you got no face mask? No more spearing. It probably lead to more fundamentals. It's just freaking interesting. This is the best idea I've heard. And I of course like the personalities involved with the XFL, like the wrestling background. We've talked about how I think this just makes it more fun, but this is actually a really great idea. So the two ideas are to speed it up and just to make it like this really interesting thing where face masks are gone. That's really cool. What do y'all think? I like it. I'll just tell you. I know I'm like I'm XFL Pollyanna. I should just call myself Pollyanna. XFL Fancast with Polly Anthony. Maybe I'll be Polly Anthony to be the male Pollyanna. Polly Anthony. I'm Polly Anthony. I'm Polly Andy. What's up? Polly Andy. Polly Andy says this is another great idea. But, I do like to be positive, and I'll keep it real if I'm hearing some bad ideas, but that's a good idea. And then the app where you can kind of like participate in the game and win some sort of prize for guessing right, I would do that. I would totally do that. I still want to know what they mean by padded roulette. Oh, maybe that's what it is. The gambling through the app is the padded roulette. We still don't know what padded roulette is. And listen to my XFL, my episode on the XFL theme song, and then you can really get into the padded roulette. Make a bet, which is still my favorite episode of this podcast because it was me being silly, and I'm a silly goose. Well, anyway, so this is just an update, y'all. So this is just a news update. So if you got this feed, you're subscribed. Now you got some concrete updates on what the XFL is up to. So get hype. I'm gonna cut this one a little short because I do have a little bit of frog in the throat, and I don't want to wear the old pipes out. But I had a lot of fun. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the XFL Fancast. Hit me up!
That was another edition of the XFL Fancast with your host, Seven Morgan. Please reach out to us, communicate with us via Twitter at XFL Fancast, at XFL Fancast on Twitter, via email, xflfancast@gmail.com, xflfancast@gmail.com, and please rate and subscribe. Thank you once again for listening to the XFL Fancast.